All right. Thank you to first of all, can everyone hear me? Pretty sure everyone can hear me, right? First of all, thank you to to Bandit55 who asked, "What if something happened to him?" Everybody, we're dedicating this stream to Bandit55, the only person in chat who appears to have been worried about me. All right? Now, that being said, I do apologize for being extra late this time because I was extra late, inexcusably late. But here is the reason, and it's the legitimate reason. So my car is in the shop at the moment, which means that I have to walk most places. It's Memorial Day, so there's no work being done on it. So the car's in the shop at the moment. So I had to walk to the gym and walk back, which is more than normal. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said something. Should have probably posted. I should have updated the time. All right, let's say new rule. If I'm going to be this late, I need to update the time to let the people know. I got to do that. Corazon says, don't tell the reason. It's too late. I did. The walk to the gym isn't that bad, though. It's a little bit over 20 minutes. But 20 minutes there and back, I wouldn't want to do it regularly. It's like another 40 minutes. But thanks for everyone sticking around. Let's get the stream likes to 100. And Bunfagum, thank you very much. Fake story, why are you reading off a script? If I was going to script it, I'd script something much better. This is just me saying, like, I started walking too late. I should have started walking earlier. That's basically it. Deadsoon says walking is healthy, though. I walk a lot anyway because walking helps me think. So, for example, if I'm writing, like, a One Piece script or something like that, I usually take a walk somewhere in the middle of that. Louis Pavon, thank you very much. Gabriel N says, not Morj living in a walkable city. Aren't most cities walkable? Or are you talking about crime? What are you talking about? I used to live in Baltimore, and I considered Baltimore a walkable city. Nurgangi, thank you. You know what I'm going to ask, so let's hear the excuse. There is no excuse. It's just, it's still coming. It's still coming. Chinua Alabacha says, Morj, what's the theme of each Mad Men season? I'm on season 7, episode 2. I can't go back and cover that shit like that. That's I would need a hard refresher on what happens in each season of Mad Men. I remember season 1 ends with the carousel. The carousel speech is pretty funny because I didn't even realize it at the time. I realized it when I was going back to rewatch scenes from Mad Men. But, like, the whole concept of Mad Men season 1 was, transporting you back in time to the 50s and the nostalgia that people have for what that era, we imagine that era to have been like, everything like that. So the season ends with Don giving his pitch for the rotating, what is it called? The rotating photo display, or whatever the thing is, right? So he gives his speech for that, and in that it's covering his family photos, him, his wife, his kids, everything like that. And he's basically pitching the idea that, yeah, this is it's a vehicle that transports you back in time to nostalgia. Or sorry, it works through the power of nostalgia, right? Being able to travel back through photo after photo after photo. And so that's framing, obviously, it works on 3 levels, right? Because it's framing the product very well. He's selling it very well to the people that it needs to be sold to. But then on top of that, it goes to a lot of Don's own, his own conflict throughout that first season, which is his level of, he doesn't value enough his wife and children over the course of that first season. And throughout that first season, there's a lot of cheating, a lot of him focusing on his own shit, etc., being still very much a lone wolf despite having a wife and children. It's funny because episode 1 ends with him going back to his wife and children, so the surprise of seeing, oh, he actually, this dude that seems like a lone wolf character, he has a wife and children that seems to conflict with everything else we've learned about his lifestyle and the relationships that he's having. Finale of season 1 is him going back after giving that whole carousel spiel about nostalgia and kind of recollecting the value of his wife, his family, and everything like that he has at home. He finally goes back, and then this time at home, there's nobody there, right? So it bookends episode 1 to episode whatever it is, the finale of the season, pretty well. So it kind of bookends the ideas of that season pretty well. But then it works on a third level because it's also kind of this, like, this was the first season of Mad Men, period, right? So this was the first time viewers are getting to see a show that's done this well, that takes you back in time to the 50s, and it plays on the viewers' ideas of nostalgia for that era of, you know, what America once was, right? The good old days of America, essentially. So it works on three levels in that sense, in that the show is also talking about itself when Dawn's giving that carousel speech. It's basically the show talking about why, like, what the appeal of itself is, right? We're a vehicle that'll take you back in time to this era, and you can go through it with sort of these rose-colored glasses and kind of see sort of a soap opera basically play out in this era of the United States history. It's very interesting. So the carousel speech, again, I don't have something off the top of my head for every season of Mad Men like that, but a lot of the most important sales pitches in each season encapsulate a lot about what the themes of each of those seasons is. And I think the carousel one kind of encapsulates how well Mad Men's writing covered the ideas of each season pretty tightly from start to finish. You know, like, all of season one was building to that carousel speech to basically, like, tie together all of the ideas of what the show was about till that point. So, long Mad Men spiel. I don't think we've ever had one of those, so you guys got to give me a pass on that. It's not NBA. It's not Dark Souls. So I think I'm allowed one of those. It's a good show. I'd recommend watching it. Guys, let's get the stream likes to 100. Nicholas Sealstern. Hey, Morj, I think you will be wrong about Bleach repeating the mistakes of the manga. New trailer gave us Shinji's Bankai and light novel material? What? Wait, are we going to get a better ending in the anime? Did the new... No, there's no fucking way. Are you kidding? Are you lying? Are you a liar? Are you a liar? I know that Shinji's Bankai, if I'm right, it's something like it makes enemies attack each other or something like that. If the anime gives us Shinji's Bankai, I think that would be a huge step towards me believing that the Bleach anime will fix a lot of the area, because it's not like, okay, it's not like we needed to see Shinji's Bankai, otherwise the arc was bad or whatever. It's just that it's Bleach. So the main reason that we're fucking watching Bleach is, at the end of the day, it's not for some brilliant character shit. It's just not. It's not for some deep thematic ideas. It's not. It's for cool powers and abilities. That's what Bleach is. That's what Bleach is at its absolute best. Cool powers and abilities mixed in with some edgy teenage dialogue, basically, right? That's what Bleach is at its heart. And, you know, it does that very well. But when that's the main appeal of what Bleach is, you need to give us certain things like Shinji's Bankai, right? Otherwise, it's like, why are we even fucking watching this? That's my take on it. I think especially the ending set of like 10 or so chapters of Bleach in the manga are exceptionally rushed. So if we can get something better than whatever the fuck that was, I'll be very satisfied. Name, thank you. Bork, who you got winning tonight? Oh, shit, and I just said I wouldn't talk about NBA. We gotta talk about it a little bit, just the tiniest bit. We'll talk about it more towards the end of the stream, but we have to talk about it a little bit because it's just such a big deal. I think that the Celtics will win. I really want the Heat to win. Just because, and I'll keep this very short, I wouldn't mind if the Celtics win. I don't care too much for either team. I just think it would be a shame if Jimmy Butler, his legacy ends up, like, it's come up multiple times in these streams. What's Jimmy Butler's legacy, right? He's such an odd player to place. I think it would be a damn shame if this dude, who is one of the most competitive, you know, scrappiest players in the entire league, who really, really, like, without a ton of talent, has just managed to repeatedly defy the odds and overperform what the expectations for his level of ability are. Dude was literally homeless. Like, Jimmy Butler is a great story. I think it would be a damn shame if his legacy ends up being most remembered for being that one dude that blew a 3-0 lead in the NBA. I think that would be such a disservice to who he is and the actual type of player he is, but it could just be what it goes down as. So I really hope that the Heat win, just so that Jimmy Butler doesn't have to live with that hanging over his name. Bunfagum says, can we talk about the new chapter, Peak Fiction? The new chapter, Peak Fiction? Are we talking about... Like the new One Piece chapter? Please tell me it's not already out yet. Hurrying Lyrics 44, welcome to the Supernova. Thanks for becoming a member. Anuj Agrawal, thank you for being thank you for being a member for 8 months, man. Miami or Boston tonight? I think I just answered that, but again, I think Boston will win. I think they just got all the momentum. I did get to watch that last game live, and craziest ending to a basketball game I've ever seen, considering the circumstances. It's in the playoffs, conference finals, blah, blah, blah. I think Boston's just going to ride that momentum and win tonight. I would prefer if Miami wins. Aether, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Rereading the series, I'm currently in Skypiea. It seems implied that Birka was an advanced nation. Is it implied that Birka was an advanced nation? I haven't reread all... I've skimmed Skypiea many a times, but I haven't reread all of Skypiea that often. Was it implied that they're an advanced nation? Ray Chiha, thanks for the 5. No spoilers, like the stream. Hello, Mr. Morj time. Yeah, we're going to avoid spoilers, so we're not going to talk about Chapter 1085. Unless it's somehow already out. Oh, no. Remix King is back. Alright, so Remix King has been a Yonko tier member for 4 months. Thanks, man. Morj, no Pokemon shit tonight. It is serious. Oh, fuck. I wonder what he's got to say. Do your basketball talk now. Anyone that wants to listen to it is going to be gone when the game starts, a.k.a. me. Fuck. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, listen. Everyone is capable of putting the basketball game on at the same time as this stream. Why can the two things not coexist? What are you gonna be watching in between ads? This stream, right? I think you should all just... First of all, if you're at a barbecue or something like that right now for Memorial Day, leave, all right? Just go to your room, sit down, watch this stream, and then have the NBA stream up on, your other device. Laptop, phone, whatever you're not, or 2 tabs. Just open up 2 tabs. I think that's a better way to spend Memorial Day. Side note, I hate these I swear, doesn't Labor Day also take place on a Monday? What date is Labor Day? What day is Labor Day? It's on a Monday, right? Is Labor Day always a Monday? Labor Day is always a Monday. Memorial Day is always a Monday too, right? Yeah, I hate these 2 holidays because the last couple years, while other people are out having fun, I'm fucking streaming for you guys. Not that I don't love it. but would be nice if I was at a barbecue. Ooh, thanks for the 5. Has bro spoken about basketball yet? I'm getting a lot of basketball support going on right now. Okay, let's just say, I think I've spoken my piece. I think that whoever wins this, I do believe that they lose to the Nuggets in the finals, just because the Nuggets are going to be well-rested. I know that can also mean that they're rusty, but maybe they drop game 1, but then they're more well-rested for the rest of the series. You guys don't want to hear about that, but let me just say this. The Celtics Heat series has been fucking phenomenal, right? Here's the big thing. I went into Game 6. I don't have much of a dog in the fight. I don't care too much for either of these 2 teams. I went into Game 6 hoping that the Celtics would win. Because I was like, this is cool. I want to be part of, you always want to watch something new, right? So it's like, if the Celtics win this, they're the first... Okay, for those of you who don't know basketball at all, let me give you some context so that you guys aren't just tuning out of the stream, all right? Simple idea. Here's how the NBA playoffs work, okay? Playoffs, that's the big one. That's the big tournament, right? Imagine it's the final saga of One Piece, okay? I'll explain it to you in One Piece terms. Here's basketball in One Piece terms. It's the final saga. They're trying to find out who the Pirate King is, okay? Every year they find out who the Pirate King is, and then they restart it again for the next year. But this year they're trying to find out who the Pirate King is. It's the battle before the battle, okay? It's the battle before the final battle, all right? There's only 3 teams left, right? So 2 of them are going at it, okay? So imagine that this is like... I don't know, Cross Guild versus the Red-Haired Pirates or something like that, right? It's not the final battle, but it's the battle before the battle, okay? The way it works is there's a series of 7 games. It's a best of 7. First team to win 4 out of 7, so they go back and forth, back and forth. First team to win 4 out of 7 games wins that, right? And then they're on to the final round. So it's a huge deal. One team, Miami, they are up. They go up 3-0. So they win 3 games. The other team, Boston, wins 0. They've not won any yet. So it's 3-0. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. So to come back from a 3-0 deficit, Boston would have to win 4 in a row. They're about to do that. Boston has just won 1, 2, 3 in a row, so now they're tied 3-3. And now Game 7 is happening tonight, so it's a very, very big deal. Not such a big deal that you should turn this stream off and go watch that, but just imagine it's a big deal, okay? So it's 3-3. Big deal. Before Game 6 started, I wanted Boston to win because I was just like, okay, it'd be cool if in my lifetime I got to see the first 3-0 comeback in NBA history. By the end of that game, I was like, I should be careful what I wish for because now that it's actually happening, I don't want Jimmy Butler to go down like that. Like, I just think it'd be too sad, especially because he played like shit throughout that game, but he really came through towards the end. He hit some clutch shots. He hit 3 clutch free throws. He basically won them that game. I was like, this is the Jimmy Butler I know. He deserves to go on to the NBA Finals. And then that fucking Derek White shit happened. I was like, oh my God. I fucking cursed him. I shouldn't have wished for the Celtics to win this game at the beginning of it. You know? Sometimes you just hope for something, and then by the end of it, you're like, why did I wish for that? I made a mistake. I should have gone with the other choice. All right. Uninspired, thanks for the 5. Do you think more movies / non-canon media will release for years to come following the end of One Piece? Of course. Of fucking course. Because it's already happening, dude. Like, we've already got Ace novels and Law novels and God knows what else. Do we get a kid novel? No, we get a kid SBS. But, you know, that shit's already taking place. We get Sanji cooking in Shogeki no Soma. That stuff is, it's everywhere as is. So I'm just like, if it's everywhere as is, then it's just going to keep going, right? It's probably going to ramp up more post One Piece. And the thing is that Oda is such a creative individual. And he's such a creative individual that with so many ideas that I feel like for him, once he finishes the story of One Piece, it's going to be the perfect setup for him where he no longer has to do this weekly grind of, you know, pumping out chapter after chapter after chapter and just being so swamped, and then also having to do color spreads and also having to oversee movies and outside stuff all the time. So his schedule is very, very rough. The moment that he's done with One Piece, I don't think he'll be out of ideas for One Piece. I think it'll just be like a whole new era for him where now he can basically sit back, enjoy life with his wife and kids and everything like that, but at the same time have the luxury to, whenever he feels like it, put out some more One Piece content, right? He can have somebody else draw it if he so chooses. He could draw some doodles or something like that himself on the side, but it just becomes, the flexibility just opens up for him so much. So I don't think he'll stop, but I think that he'll put out a lot more stuff, or at least green light a lot more stuff and have his input or throw in his ideas, you know? I mean, how much stuff is there as is right now that he's forced to throw into Vivre cards instead of the manga? Well, in the future, he'll be able to probably at least oversee some of his external ideas that didn't make it onto the page, make it into spin-off stuff. I mean, even on top of that, you've got, he talked about how there's so many backstories that he thinks of that he can't actually get into chapters. So Senor Pink's backstory almost didn't make it to the manga until an editor was like, this is so good, you have to include it, you know? Dom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Hey, Morjius, you caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen? It's going brazy. All right, so I'm not going to lie. I am not caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, but I am. Simple reason. All right, so here's my... for those of you who don't know about Jujutsu Kaisen, all right? The entire series is kind of like... there's... I don't want to give spoilers. I won't spoil it. I won't spoil it. Let me just say that I read the last 2 chapters. Okay, there was a certain event that we were all waiting on to happen, right? So in my mind, I wrapped up the Shibuya incident arc. I was like, I'm going to let this series play out, get some more chapters in. Once enough chapters come out, then I'll binge it, right? I'll binge the rest of it. I understood it's the Culling Games arc that came after the Shibuya incident, right? So I ended at the end of the Shibuya incident. I've missed the entirety of the Culling Games. I had told myself, I'm just going to wait for that event, that individual to be released. That's the most I'll say. And as soon as that happens, then I know shit's going down, so then I'll just binge everything. So that individual was released, and I kind of looked at Jujutsu Kaisen and I was like, well, I told myself that I would binge the rest of it now. Let me just take a peek at what's going on. And so I kind of just skipped ahead to the latest chapters to see the you know what I'm talking. I know what's going on right now. I don't know any of the context before that. I'll be honest. I was like, the original plan was, binge all of Culling Games, catch up as soon as that individual's released. Right now, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm not reading all that shit. Is there any point? I can just skip to what's going on right now. That's what we're all waiting for, right? So, I'm caught up, but not really. Paul Mao, thanks for being a member for 8 months. Morj, this Egghead arc is too good, man. Oda cooking. Yeah, I mean, I know that based on what I'm hearing about the next chapter, this is gonna be. Is it even the Egghead arc? We kind of talked about that before, but it's just like the current arc, like everything that's gonna happen in the next set of chapters, both outside and I think once we cut back to Egghead, even it's gonna blow expectations out of the water in terms of like how epic the final saga is about to be. This is just the first arc of the final saga. This is insane. Let's get the stream likes to 200. Let's get it to 200, everyone. KC the MC. Good name. Are you going to watch the anime episode for Gear 5th? And have you watched Zoro's and Sanji's episodes? I've watched the clips of Zoro and Sanji winning their fights. Cool stuff. I'm definitely going to watch most of Gear 5th. I don't know if I'd watch the full episode is the thing, but I'm sure I can watch the entirety of I want to see him transform. I want to see, how do I put this? You know how in the Gear, like Luffy turning into Gear 5th, that chapter, there's also randomly this stupid ass Toki shit that takes place partway through it. That's kind of the reason and that's just the way it is throughout most of Onigashima. It's just the fights, there's so much cutting in between and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to watch a full episode of anything, period. There's just no point. But I do want to watch everything that involves Gear 5th, right? So, I'll probably watch the transformation part. I'll watch him getting knocked out. I'll watch the transformation part. I'll watch him, coming down, yanking Kaido out of, from inside Onigashima and pulling him out. I'll watch most of the Gear 5th stuff. I want to see most of the Gear 5th stuff. All the other stuff like Toki and Orochi, Raizo putting out the water and fire and stuff like I'm not going to watch full episodes because that's just, why would I do that? But I'll try and watch as much Gear 5th material as I can. Mainly because I'm very interested in how they do it, how they animate it. They've got a great opportunity to do something here that no other anime really gets the opportunity to do. Abdurrahman Amari, Morj, avoid all possible spoilers, One Piece 1085, and all people here also. Yeah, I would definitely recommend avoiding spoilers for 1085. I know something. That's all I'll say. Ooh, thanks for the 5. Morjuenio, after 76 years, the streets are saying that we're getting alien disclosure from the U.S. government anytime from Labor Day to Thanksgiving. What? Is this a joke? This sounds like a joke, but I'm going to look it up anyway. Alien. I just looked up the word alien. Let's see what happens. Damn it. There's nothing about that. The streets are lying. Chai N, thank you. Appreciate it. Chai N, thank you. I get the sense you're trying to upload something, but or post some sort of a comment, but you're having trouble with the system. Schmike the Melts, love you, Morj. Do you get a lot of women? That depends. I guess, how would I say this? I am a fairly introverted person, so for me, if I'm trying to date, I go on dating apps. And yes, dating apps are very kind to me because I have good photos and everything like that. However, I also go long stints where I'm just like, you know what? I hate dating apps, so I'm not going to see anyone for a while. So it depends. Because it's the summer, I have been on dating apps again. So I think I am going to... I have started shopping around again, let's just say that. I have a date for this Friday, so we'll see how that goes. We're going to a speakeasy. Dear Lord, but this is spelled like George. Kindly use this dono to ignore the next $5 worth of basketball super chats. Only a very vocal minority cares about it. Do a poll. See, the thing is, it's probably going to be outweighed by the number of basketball super chats that then come up. So it's like, It's just like we've already had more than $5 worth of super chats One Direction, so what am I really gonna say here? Manifest Joe, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Honestly, Morj, at that point, it sounds like more work than just watching a whole episode, brother, bending over backwards to hate. I'm not hate. Is it hating if I don't want to watch the shitty Tokyo Orochi scene? That's not hating. That's just like, why would I do that? And who knows how long that the anime is gonna, how long's the anime gonna, like, the anime might stretch that out for like 15 minutes. Like, come on. Zero's asking what dating app do you use? I think Hinge is the best, in my opinion. I think Tinder used to be really good. I don't even know how many years ago. I would say let me think. Sorry, I'm just calculating like years. I feel like 5 years ago, Tinder was really good. 5 years ago, Tinder was really good. Then I came back after a while. I think like post-COVID, I was like, okay, let me try Tinder again. And Tinder is really, really bad now, in my opinion. You got to pay for a bunch of stuff. Like, otherwise, you don't, like, you just won't, it won't show your profile to people, as I understand it. But Hinge is just good for everyone, in my opinion. Because Hinge, I think, like, I've known guys that are maybe, how do I say this? That are not the best in the looks department, let's say. And, even they can get a date off of Hinge once in a while or something. So, like, I think Hinge is probably well suited to a lot of people. If you're having trouble, I'd suggest try Hinge. Spade who's a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Do you put your thumbnail faces on your profile on the dating apps? My thumbnail faces. No, we are not trying to scare away anybody. Some of the Morj Unleashed thumbnails, I think that would not work. Riri says Morj is introverted. I'm introverted at heart. I'm very, very good at pretending to be extroverted, if that makes sense. But I'm introverted at heart. Like, if I have my way, I'll just stay... like, when I first moved to the new city, the first thing that I appreciated was just how quiet, like, because I had a fairly active social circle back when I lived in Baltimore. When I first moved to this new city, I was just so happy to just have everything be, not because I didn't miss people, but everything was just so quiet. It was so quiet. I didn't have to communicate with anyone for like, God knows how long, like half a year or something like that. I was like, oh, I should try and make a social circle here. And then I was like, wait, but I don't have to. And it was very peaceful, very quiet. I got a lot of time, like extra time that I got to work on the business at that point in time. So that was very, very much needed and appreciated. And it took like a long time before I was eventually like, okay, I should probably like interact with other individuals at this point. Keenan says, my man Morj just said, if you're ugly, use Hinge. No, I think the better way to put it would be, if you're not super duper conventionally attractive, use Hinge instead of Tinder. Because I think that Tinder, at least the way that it is now, either it caters to people that pay, or I assume people that are like top 5% most attractive, basically, or something like that, right? So I don't think it's not if you're ugly. I phrased it poorly, I'd say. But you guys get what I'm saying. Just use Hinge. I think Hinge is good. Casey the MC says, Morj out here getting neck. Don't skip the good parts like you skip all these episodes, lol. Let me check real quick. How long is it going to take before the One Piece anime gets to Gear 5th? What are we at? One Piece episode list. Let me see. Okay, so we've got... Wait, what? Oh, no, never mind. We've got, like, 2 episodes left. Maybe I do a reaction. Do I do a reaction? Do I do a reaction? Let me see. Maybe I do a reaction to just one. Chai N says it's chin bro. Well, you've got a space in between the words. It was my first super chat ever, and I request we all take a moment of silence for oof. Dude, that was so long ago. That was so long ago. No. Hawkbox says, on your dating profile, how do you mention you're 4'2"? It's a real... I have a lot of trouble hiding that one, man. I kind of just don't mention I'm 4'2". Schmike the Meltz's next stream should just be scrolling through dating apps. Like one of those, like pro streamers do. Like going on Tinder and just doing that. I feel like I'd feel comfortable doing that on Tinder. Hinge feels almost wrong because people put more of themselves out there on Hinge. Tinder, most girls will just be like, they don't try. They just put 4 photos and like a random paragraph that says like, I like music and hiking or some shit, and then that's basically it. But Hinge people put like a lot of themselves out there, so it's like I would feel very uncomfortable. And I don't think you can even use Hinge online, like on a computer. I don't think so. Yeah, I'd feel very bad like showing people's personal profiles and stuff like that on at least off of Hinge. Genu says Morj major INTJ vibes. Yeah, that is accurate. Alito5, thanks for the 5. Last Saturday, my friends and I got together to do a LAN party. Pizza, MMO raid, and then games like Halo and Team Fortress 2. It was great. Suddenly, Morj broke down the door of my apartment and proceeded to pour some brown liquid on our computers while shouting, "The raid will fail." Thanks, Morj. I'm still saying that. I'm still pushing the raid will fail in Elliot's fantasies. Oh, guys, let's get the stream likes to 200. Schmike the Melts, thanks for the 2. Next stream should just... Oh, no, we covered you. Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Loved your last video, Mr. Lorge. Any hints for tomorrow's weird video? No. Tomorrow's video... Okay, for those of you who don't know, I talked about in the Morjcast. For those of you who don't know what the Morjcast is, I recommend you try it out. You can get it by supporting me on Patreon. It is a week, or just by becoming a Yonko tier member by hitting the join button right below this video. It is a weekly podcast that I put out every single Friday, giving my super unfiltered secret thoughts that I don't share on stream, on chapter review, on video, any of that. So Morj Unleashed is, not Morj Unleashed, Morjcast, mixing things up. Yeah, Morjcast is pretty good for, if you just want a podcast to listen to that gives you some extra insight on everything that goes from like the making of videos to like my more controversial opinions on things, etc. I'd recommend it. Anyway, last Morjcast I hinted at a really weird video that's coming out tomorrow. I'm not giving any hints on that though. I'm not giving any hints on that because it's just you guys will see it. Just keep in mind it's an interesting I recommend watching it for sure. I'm not saying that like, oh, you should 100% buy it, but it's a really, really, really interesting one that's coming out tomorrow. He says, also, I don't think Oda will have the heart to finish One Piece ever. Dude, it keeps expanding. It keeps expanding. It's kind of crazy. It keeps expanding. Big Bro Cook, thanks for the 2. He says, you skipped my super earlier. Fuck. Sorry you had to super to say that. Let's see if we can catch it. My bad. Let's see if we can catch it. Hold on, let me answer another while I'm looking for this. Sith Lord, thanks for the 5. Any specific stories that you want to see in a One Piece spin-off? Things that were only mentioned in the manga, backstories, news stories. Any specific stories that I want to see in a One Piece spin-off? Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to see, like, it depends because we don't know what's going to get covered at the end of the day in the manga itself. So, for example, if a lot of Rogers, or if the God Valley incident or something like that is covered, then we don't need a spin-off for that. If a good deal of Rogers' adventures are covered, then we don't really need a spin-off of that. But those are the things that I would mainly be interested in seeing. Rogers' adventures. I think the alternative would be Shanks' adventures. Those are the two that I got. Because how did Shanks become a Yonko? What was his rise like? Stuff like that. Big Bro Cook, thanks for the 5. Morj, what is your favorite volume cover of One Piece? Mine is probably volume 62. And excited for Warner Brothers to help animate Gear 5th. I've heard that that's not a real thing. I've heard that it's that was a false rumor. Warner Bros. Is not helping animate Gear 5th. Let me check what volume 62's cover was. I don't have a favorite volume cover off the top of my head. That's why we kind of talked about maybe doing a tier list for volume covers. This is a cool option, though. This is a cool option. Feels like a very wondrous volume cover, if you guys want to look that up. Caleb Brown, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. How's my favorite Morj day? What do you think Blackbeard is keeping... Why do you think Blackbeard is keeping Mori alive? Could Blackbeard use his fruit to switch his shadow to a different, more powerful body? If Blackbeard switched his... Okay, I'm doing well today. Thank you for asking. If Blackbeard switched his shadow to a different, more powerful body, the thing is that he would be under Moria's control, because Moria controls all of the shadows that are inserted into other people's bodies. I think Law's fruit would be a better bet if he's trying to switch bodies. It is an interesting idea. I would say that why he's keeping him alive, I feel like that's just maybe an Oda thing. Maybe Blackbeard would prefer Moria as a subordinate rather than killing him and taking his fruit and giving it to one of his subordinates, so maybe he wants Moria to be a subordinate. That's my best guess. Not sure, though. Yeah, we'll do a stream for volume covers. Gear 5th volume cover is great. Yeah, I think Oda's had some really good ones in Onigashima. Are people confirming that there's not actually a Warner Brothers animator involved? Yeah. Okay. Alright, now I'm catching up. I'm seeing TCB's in the chat. Wait, TCB, is the chapter coming out? Please tell me the chapter's coming out Thursday. Or is it coming out Wednesday, if TCB's still here? Please tell me it's coming out Thursday. When it comes out Wednesday, it just fucks up everything, for me personally. Obviously, you guys do your thing, you get it out when you gotta get it out, but for me, it's just like, Jesus Christ, like, I fucking hate when it comes out on Wednesdays. Walt Disney himself will animate Gear 5th, says Chino Alibatia. Aether, thanks for the 5. It's likely Burka had lightning fruit and Enel stole it. Burka believed God's on the moon, also where electric civilization is. Maxim is advanced technology. What if Enel made Maxim himself, though? What if Enel's Loki like a really good engineer? And Enel's like, Enel's actually, like, what if we've been underestimating? What if he's a really, really smart, savvy engineer that's actually been working hard all this time while everyone just thinks he's bumming around, being God. Wrench Dodger 2000 says, you all see the going scary? Looking good. Okay. I think I know why nobody's talking about this, but I think I know why the going merry looks the way it does. Let me show you guys this. Also, we should start predicting when One Piece is going to end, like the stream says. Hold on, let me pull up, One Piece live action. Yeah. So, like, Here. So my theory is this, which is if you look at the Going Merry, right? Why do it like this, right? Because someone posted it with the like, okay, yeah, I saw this on Twitter. So it's like, why do this? Why have the mouth open when the mouth is closed here? So then I was like, okay, well, what if they close the mouth here? What would that look like? I feel like if they close the mouth here, right, then wouldn't this look a little bit like a dick? You get what I'm saying? Like, here, like, because the two things are structured differently. So I think partway through constructing the Going Merry, they realized that they fucked up a little bit. So they're like, you know, if the mouth is closed here, then it kind of just look like, you guys get what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I think that's why they had to do it, in my opinion. Like, that's true, right? You know what I'm saying? I think that's true. I mean, I can show you guys. Here. Let me pull out the Microsoft Paint. Or wait, do I even need to? It's an adaptation, can't be one-to-one. I mean, but why make it scary? There's no reason to make it scary. I don't think my tracing is good enough to show you guys. Also, the stream will get demonetized. Luffy's shoes and now this. Matt, bringing us back to the topic of the stream. I think One Piece will end in 2 years. I don't. Okay, so I don't know how that's possible. Because, okay, let me ask this. Do you guys think that the amount of time left for One Piece is it more or less than the length of the Wano arc? Right? I think it is at least equal to the length of the Wano arc. Because we've got so much to go. We have Elbaf, right? So Egghead Island arc has to close as is. That could be another 20 chapters. Because we're not even fucking back at Egghead yet. So Egghead has to close. That's 20 chapters. Let's pretend if we go to Elbaf, let's pretend that Elbaf is somehow 20 chapters. I don't think that's possible, but let's pretend, right? So that's 40 chapters right there. That's another year of One Piece. That's another full year. Oda only gets out 38 chapters a year. And then after that, let's say we go to Laugh Tale. Let's pretend Laugh Tale is 20 chapters. Like, I'm saying let's really fucking lowball it. Like, I don't think Laugh Tale is 20 chapters, whatever. Laugh Tale is another 20 chapters. Let's say the final war is 60 chapters, right? So, 80. That right there is another 2 years, right? So, you guys get what I'm saying? So, like, even if we pretend, max, that, like... Okay, we can do Microsoft Paint for this, right? Because we're doing some math now. Even if we pretend max... Like, let's just pretend. Absolute minimum. Absolute minimum, let's say... Laugh Tale... Or, sorry, let's say... Egghead, 20. Elbaf, 20. Laugh Tale, 20. Final War, fuck it, let's say 50. I don't know, like the entire Onigashima battle. Let's say Final War 60, because keep in mind the entire Onigashima battle, which started, I guess, technically chapter 1000. They were doing the raid, and like the raid really began, I think, 1080 something or 1090 or something. I forget, like 1080, I want to say. So 1080, it took till like 1050 for the battle to wrap. Or sorry, 980. 980. So 980, it took till 1050 to wrap. Let's pretend somehow the final war is 60 chapters, right? Let's just pretend. So, like, it doesn't seem fucking possible to me how the final war could be 60, but make-believe land, right? 20, 20, 20, 60. That gives us a grand total of 120, which equals... it's 3 years and technically a little more than 3 years. Because Oda gets out 38 chapters, roughly a year. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, it's very, very hard to imagine One Piece ending in 3 years. So, I'm curious. Let's do some polls. These are the 4 arcs that seem to make sense to still be happening to me. If we do Egghead, right? First of all, I'm gonna make myself a little bigger. I made myself smaller for the purposes of the color spread tier list. But yeah, let's say we're doing... Hold on, let me catch up on supers real quick. I'm gonna do a poll for Egghead while I answer this. How many more chapters is Egghead? Let's say 15. Let's say 10 to 15, 20 plus, 30, 40. I know the ranges are really vague, but I'm kind of just throwing different things out there. Patricio Zambrano, thanks for the 5. Hi, Morj. Which niche character do you think could have a big role in the last war? That's a great question. Or do you think all main players are all set? Great stream, man. It depends on what you mean by niche character. Because this is going to sound really weird for me, being a long-time dedicated Yamato hater. People think 10 to 15 chapters left in Egghead? I could see that being possible. I think it's just because we're outside of Egghead so much right now that we don't even know when we're going back. That I'm like questionable on that. Looks like okay, let's say, let's say 15, because it looks like people are caught between 10 to 15 and 20 plus, right? So let's say chat believes that there's 15. What chat believes, right? Chat believes 15. Okay, Egghead 15 chapters, right? Chat believes Egghead is 15 chapters. Do I think all main players are set? And thanks for saying great stream. I think that the majority of main players are set. I think that Bonnie could have a significant role because it seems like her character conflict is going to be closely tied to the Celestial Dragons. I think that, like, who do you call a niche character? I think Vivi's going to have a big role, but she's not a niche character. I think even Yamato could have a big role, depending on if you consider her a niche character at this point or not. If you're saying, like, niche characters like Tama or someone, no. I think, like, most characters that were really important for their arcs and haven't really been... I don't think Tama is going to be a big character at the end of the story or anything, or, like, Carrot or anything like that. I think that characters that I expect to be important are Straw Hats, then Sabo, Vivi, Dragon, things like that. Goomba Booma, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months, man. Let's say the Straw Hats and Blackbeard Pirates fights are a chapter for each member. That's 10 chapters just for the fights, not including the setup. These little things add up. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. That people, like, if we say Laughtail, where do we think that the Straw Hats fight the Blackbeard Pirates? Is it at Laughtail? If they fight them at Laughtail, it's like 10 chapters of story, and then just 10 chapters straight of fights, and then Luffy versus Blackbeard is just 1 chapter. I think that Straw Hats versus Blackbeard Pirates have to be at least 20 chapters, because if you go back to Wano, if you go back to Wano, if you add up the time for each Straw Hats fight, so Zoro and Sanji got basically 2 whole chapters dedicated to them for their fights, and then half a chapter here, half a chapter there, quarter of a chapter here, quarter of a chapter there, right? Same with like Jinbei versus Who's Who. We would get a couple pages here or there, basically, and then finally one full dedicated chapter. So it's not even just like one chapter is the minimum. Even in Wano, even in Onigashima, Oda couldn't do a fight with just one chapter. It was one chapter at the minimum, right, for the most basic Straw Hats, but then also some pages taking up other chapters, right? So there's half chapters or quarter chapters or fractions of a chapter dedicated to individual fights. It's really, really hard to imagine a full crew-on-crew battle that wraps in 20 chapters. And that's not even including the story setup that it would require. So let me ask you guys before we even get there. Let's say Elbaf, right? How long do you guys think Elbaf will take? Less than 20 to 30. 30 to 40, say 40 plus. Umair Ula, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Do you think Kettle is a bad person or a good person? Oh, from Vinland Saga? I think he's a bad person. I think he's a bad person, but Thorfinn and Einar got really lucky that Kettle was their owner, I feel, in my opinion. Yeah, they could have had a worse owner for sure, but I think that Kettle is ultimately a bad person. He was just a better person, I guess, as far as slave owners go. But still a bad person and a coward and a hypocrite in many ways. Chin, welcome to the Yonko! Notice I said your name that time because now, correctly that time because now you're a Yonko member. So it's looking like about 50% of people think it'll be under, like if you add it all up, about 50% think it'll be under 30 chapters, 50% think it'll be above 30 chapters. I'm just going to say 30 chapters, because that's right down the middle. So chat thinks Elbaf is 30 chapters. Sleeping Danger, thank you. Is Kid a niche character? No, I think Kid has consistently been portrayed as a major character. Like when you're standing up on the roof with Luffy and, Luffy and Law and Zoro and stuff like that, and you're being pitched as the very head of the next generation, and like you've got a 3 billion berry bounty coming out of Wano, and like you've took down one of the 4 emperors of the sea. You can't be. You're not a niche character anymore. We've yet to see if he's an eliminated character or not, but he's not a niche character. Kid was definitely a major character over the course of the story. Chino Alabachi says people are underestimating arc lengths. I agree, and I think that that's something that fairly consistently happens throughout the story. I mean, I thought that Egghead would be less than 20 chapters, and I think we've already passed the 25 chapter mark, haven't we? Let's just do Laugh Tale next. We're not gonna. We could, if we really wanted to play this game, we could be like, okay, well, what if they go to Lodestar? What if they go to the moon? What if Laugh Tale is the moon? Stuff like that. We're not gonna play that game for the purposes of this. We'll just do. Let me do some voting on Laugh Tale. So I'll do this same sort of ranges again. 15 to. Okay. Laugh Tale, right? Less than 20. 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and then 40 plus. Alright, you guys vote on that. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. So results are saying, again, it's like half and half. I'm going to put down 30 again. It's so evenly split. Each one is basically about the same. I'm going to put down 30 again. It's the easiest. So let's say 30. And then Final War. I think I should have put up some reference metrics for some of you guys, so you guys kind of get the idea. Because keep in mind, Zoe was 24 chapters. Just Zoe. An arc where literally nothing happened except Raizo Dono is safe and Zunisha attacking Jack and like some poneglyph reveals. Like there was no fights in all of Zoe. So do you really think that Laugh Tale will be 5 more chapters, especially if it involves the Blackbeard Pirates or combat of any sort? You know, because the lore, like, how, put it this way, how long do you think the Void Sentry flashback is going to be? You think it's going to be as long as the Skypiea Nolan Kolgara flashback? You think it's going to be as long as the Odin flashback? You guys get what I'm saying? Like, just for story stuff to happen, right? Them getting the Laugh Tale, deciphering the poneglyphs or whatever. Like, for it to be 30 chapters, if the Blackbeard Pirates are involved, for them to, it would have to be something like they get to Laugh Tale, and that takes like 2 chapters. Then while they're in Laugh Tale, they find the poneglyph in 1 chapter. Then they do the Void story flashback in like 3 chapters. And then they set up the Blackbeard Pirates conflict in like 3 chapters. And then they beat the Blackbeard Pirates and leave Laugh Tale within 20 chapters. So I don't know if I can stress how fucking insane that is. But again, consider that like Zoe was 24 chapters. Basically 22, 23 chapters, I think. So it was 22, 23 chapters. Egghead Island, where we haven't even gotten to the conflict yet, right? The Marines haven't even fucking showed up. We've kind of just showed up at the island, explored a little bit, found out about the Seraphim, found out about what Vegapunk's been working on. That's fucking it. And we're already at 25 chapters. So you think Laugh Tale, Laugh Tale's literally just like an empty, like they just show up, there's nothing to do, they read a poneglyph, they find out the Void Sentry stuff, and then they start fighting the Blackbeard Pirates? Like, and then they leave. I just don't, that doesn't make any sense to me at the pace we're going, but, you know, that's what you guys are voting for. We're going to do Final War next. Talha, thanks for the 7. People should lower their expectations for most Straw Hats for Final Saga. Post-time skip One Piece is Monster Trio piece, plus rotating sidecast. Usopp won't surpass Yasop. I mean, I don't think Usopp will surpass Yasop as a fighter, but I think that Usopp, in his own way, is going to be more effective. Like, I could see him outsmarting or outwitting Yasop in some way, you know, if they ever go up against each other. I don't think Usopp's ever supposed to be, you know, top 4 strongest Straw Hats or anything like that. I do think that the way things are set up, every Straw Hat should already have something planted for them at the end of the story that will be important for them to do. So, for example, for Nami, probably getting to Laugh Tale. Robin deciphering the poneglyphs, we know that's important. Frankie most likely building Pluton, that's something that kind of has to happen for him, right? So there's certain scenes that we can expect where the Straw Hats will get their attention, but I wouldn't be surprised if overall they don't get that much focus. That's where I'm kind of at. Let's do the Final War. This one, I'm going to obviously scale things up a little bit. Let's say 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60. It should be higher, honestly. I'll do ranges of 20 here. 30 to 50. Nah, that doesn't feel right either. Okay, I guess the way to put it is basically the Final War of Wano, right? The Final War of Wano, I believe it started in chapter 900, 80 something. Like, where do you even say the final war begin? Like, where does the battle section of it kind of begin, right? Because again, the final war, it's not just going to be like, okay, they left Laugh-Tale, right? Laugh-Tale closes. Now the war just begins, and the Straw Hats are at Marija, and they're fighting everyone already, right? So for full context, if we look at it, chapter 975 is when the Straw Hats are basically... This is 975 is when the Straw Hats show up. 974, whatever. Early 970s, okay? That's where the Straw Hats are basically setting off to Onigashima to fight the bad guys, alright? They get off at Onigashima around 978. And then they're just they're setting stuff up, everybody's getting in place and everything like that. And it looks like 900 and what is this? Yeah, the actual Battle of Onigashima begins. Is it 988? 987? When did they start attacking him? Okay, basically 986. Alright, so if we want to be really accurate, 986 is when the Battle of Onigashima starts. 986 is when the Battle of Onigashima starts. It ends 1050. So that's about 65 chapters roughly, right? 64 chapters basically for the entire Battle of Onigashima to play out. This is not counting the time that it takes for the Straw Hats to actually, head over there. Everyone's getting set up. The tension's building for the battle to start. It's literally like the starting moment of the fight. The starting moment of the fight. So cutting out any sort of setup. The starting moment of the fight to the ending moment of the fight is 65 chapters. All right? Do we expect the final war to be longer than that? That's the question. So let me put up the poll. Francisco Mas, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. This is really hard to predict. Also, Morjcast, Morj Unleashed reminder. Yes, definitely check out the Morjcast if you want my extended thoughts on stuff. On everything. Literally everything. So let me do the final war poll. So... 40 to 50 chapters. Let's say 50 to 70 chapters, so meaning around the length of Wano's battle. 70 to 80 chapters, and then I'll just do 80 plus. This doesn't feel right. What's the right way to split this up? Okay, under 50 chapters. If people think it'll take, no, let's say 40 to 50. 40 to 50 chapters, and then 50 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 plus. I know that the ranges aren't consistent, but just whatever. Doesn't matter. Just vote. Damn, a lot of people feel like 80 plus, or at least 70 to 80. I'm going to say that means that our answer is basically 80. Because the majority are saying either 70 to 80 or 80 plus. I'm going to say our answer is 80. What I believe, Morj believes... Okay, wait, hold on. Let's do the math on this first real quick. So we're saying this is 45, 75, 155, right? So 155 chapters. That's basically what? Oda gets out 38 chapters a year. So that's close to 4 years, right? It's a little bit it's just about 4 years, right? What's 38 times 4? I think it's almost exactly that. 152. That's basically 4 years almost on the dot. 4 years. So chat believes basically 4 years. Interesting. I would be inclined to believe 4 years because Oda said that he cut shit down, he streamlined it, he's ready to end One Piece soon. Let me answer these supers real quick. Christian Barraza, thanks for the 10. The raid should have ended in failure. I like that type of thinking. Or at least something comparable. Agree. To add dramatic tension. Agree. Are we going to be getting that on Egghead given what's happened to the other 3 billion pirate crews? I just don't think it's necessary for Egghead because Egghead is a starting arc of this larger storyline of the final saga. You generally want the point of greatest tension to be somewhere in the middle. It's always nice when within... How do I explain that? What people don't understand about the raid failing, and I feel like I explain this frequently, but maybe not frequently enough. What people don't understand about the raid failing is that every One Piece arc has an equivalent moment to that. Every One Piece arc has an equivalent moment to a raid fail. It's just differing in severity. Okay? There's always a midpoint to every One Piece arc where things go at least somewhat wrong, and there's some level of tension and uncertainty. And the heroes are pressed a little bit in some way. And usually you say how tense the arc is, like on lighter arcs, right? It's not going to get too tense. Most of the Strats are probably not going to be too worried, but maybe some characters are a little bit worried or something like that. Usually it's the side characters. In the major arcs, right? So Alabasta, Enies Lobby, things like that. Those are the arcs where you generally see even the Straw Hats all the way up to like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, not like the main characters, they're really, really, really going through it as well, right? They're really feeling the tension and the stress and the intensity and pressure of the situation as well, right? And you see that in their thoughts, their reactions, how they're feeling, their attitude towards everything, if they feel more thrown off or lost, etc., right? But just because that's something that is especially intense in the major arcs, that doesn't mean that something equivalent doesn't happen in all of the pretty much every minor arc of One Piece. Like you can even go to like fucking Drum Kingdom and find stuff like that. Like there's always a midpoint, right, where things get a little bit heavier and then it resolves, right? So Egghead Island, I think that there's the argument that there's two things you got to discuss with Egghead Island, right? It's, does this arc feel like it needs to be an arc where things get really, really bad or heavy for the Straw Hats? Like how heavy do we expect the midpoint to be? With Wano, because it was such a significant arc, I expected that there would be a clear point of tension or clear midpoint. But Wano was one of the most easy breezy, straightforward, and emotionally uninvolved arcs for the Straw Hats in all of One Piece. That's what was really surprising to me. I don't expect Egghead as the starting arc of this final saga to have to get something really heavy in there. You know, that could happen partway through. Maybe that happens at Laugh Tale. Maybe that happens with the Blackbeard Pirates. Maybe that happens with some direct encounter with Im or God's Knights or whoever the fuck is supposed to be their final obstacles, you know? Maybe it happens here, but at the same time, again, it's really like we're at the beginning of a much longer storyline. So whatever the midpoint is of Egghead, I don't feel like it has to be anything really crazy heavy. It could be something really crazy, dark, and heavy, and, you know, then that sets us up well to keep ramping up in a positive direction for the rest of the saga, but I really don't feel like it needs to be. So then the second question with Egghead is, okay, have we already kind of gotten to the midpoint for whatever the midpoint of this arc is supposed to be? I feel like that's arguably yes, because I think that the moment that really started to shake things up was with Vegapunk disappear. Like, when they realized that there's a traitor and the assassination stuff started happening, and then everyone's kind of like thrown off, like, oh no, what's going on? The Seraphim are attacking us. You know, like, because before that things are kind of easy breezy, right? Oh, CP0 is here, but like Luffy's making a joke out of Lucci. But then after that, questions start coming up. Like, okay, fuck, where's Vegapunk? What's happening on the island? The Marines are approaching and stuff, so we don't have a lot of time. And now the Seraphim are attacking us, and we've had a couple chapters where a lot of the characters are really like confused, worried, at least somewhat scared, right? It doesn't need to get that heavy because, again, it seems like this is just a short beginning arc, but it feels like we might have already hit the midpoint of this arc, right? We might already be in the section where things are a little bit difficult, worrisome, etc. And then maybe by the time it's time for the Marines to come, the Straw Hats are basically reformed and ready to kick ass or something like that. I don't know. There's two ways that Oda could go with it, right? What else we got here? People are saying why 80 plus? 80 plus is crazy. 80 plus is like 3 years. 80 is kind of crazy. 80, but that's what you guys voted for. That's what that's over 60% of people voted that much. Sleeping Danger says 80 plus is never gonna happen. I mean, all I gotta say is that, like, you gotta realize that from the time that the Battle of Onigashima began to the time, like, what we're tracking is basically the ending of. I could go into detail and be like, okay, well, what about the epilogue, etc., right? From the time that the Onigashima battle began, right, to the time that Wano ended, which was chapter 1000, I want to say 1058 or something like that. That was more than 80 chapters. Okay, so, like, think about that. Like, if the battle itself began chapter 986, right? The Battle of Onigashima begins 986. Then for the entire battle to play out and for Wano to wrap up, right? So the closing stuff, that's basically exactly 80 chapters. Exactly 80 chapters. A little bit more, actually. So you guys get what I'm saying? Like, that was just the Battle of Onigashima. Just for the Battle of Onigashima to start, and that's not even counting the setup. Like, that's not even counting people getting to the island. That's not counting people getting to the island. That's not counting any dialogue or exposition and stuff that's happening heading into the battle, right? That's literally from the moment that the fighting begins and the first attack happens, right? So Kinemon the Skybirds attack Kaido. From that moment on, it is another, like, 60-ish chapters to wrap, over 60 chapters for the fighting to stop, and then basically in total, by the time it's like the story is done, all loose ends closed. Not really all loose ends closed, because Oda forgot about a bunch of them, but the loose ends that Oda wanted to close, right? That was 80 chapters. So for basically if you think that the final war being 80 is too short, it would mean that you think that the final war is going to have significantly less stuff than Onigashima, because you're saying that basically, like, the time it takes for everything to get set up in the fight, right? For everything to get set up for the fight, and the time it takes for everyone to actually do their fights, right? So all the Straw Hats, however many allies need to get fights, etc. Whoever's involved, admirals, God's Knights, Gorosei, Im, CP0, whoever the fuck you think. All of that to wrap, and then plus any epilogue stuff. So once the world government defeated, Dawn of the World, what's happening with all the characters, what's the new world like, etc. You think all of that, for that to be less than 80 chapters, right? You basically think that that's going to be, like, you think that that can all happen in a shorter amount of time than it took for just for the Battle of Onigashima to actually start. So Kinemon to attack Kaido, and then the Straw Hats to, in a very rushed manner, wrap up and leave from Wano. Because that just doesn't seem possible to me, right? The Battle of Onigashima, I mean, the final war has more characters, more factions, more everything. It requires more setup, and it's going to require more storylines to be closed out and a longer epilogue than Wano itself had, right? And Francois says, but Oda said that he will consolidate the final saga. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, how do you consolidate it to something that's smaller than the entirety of Onigashima, plus the entirety of post Onigashima, plus the entirety of getting everybody to Onigashima, you know? Like, you can literally even look at, like, post Enies Lobby, and post Enies Lobby is, like, that alone is, like, 10 chapters, you know? Drek the Drek, thanks for the 5. You think Oda wrote in the cross-guild ship gag after he first saw the going scary? Got events somehow, I guess. I don't know if that's why he did it, but that's a funny thought. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Enies Lobby and Marineford had the most personal stakes for the Straw Hats of any arc in the series. I agree. Do you think the final war can achieve that? I mean, I really hope so. It's the final war, so like you'd think that all the stops would be pulled out. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 5. Theory: the Void Sentry flashback will not focus on Joy Boy, but more so on Imu, making Imu's actions morally gray, maybe making people side with him over Joy Boy. I just don't think that that's going to be the case because if Im's really the final dude that has to be beaten up for the world to be freed, and he's been like literally ruling the entire world for 800 years and oppressing everybody for 800 years and erasing islands and committing genocides for 800 years, I don't think that this is a morally gray character we're headed for. Again, I think if you look at Enel and Doflamingo and such, those are the most overtly evil characters that Oda's had in the story, and they're the ones that are the closest comparisons to Im that we have. Bunfagum, thanks for the 7. Are you worried that the final battle will be too cluttered like in the raid? What can Oda do to avoid the issues that plagued him during the raid? I think a big bonus for the final battle would be that we're going to care about a lot more of the characters involved. So, like, you know, if during the raid we're cutting away to random shit like Hyogoro talking about how he's going to freeze to death and then him not freezing to death, it's just like, get Hyogoro the fuck off the page, right? So if it's at the final battle and it's like, instead we're cutting away to, you know, it's not like we're cutting away to Toki doing some shit or like one of the 9 random ass scabbards doing some shit like Raizo versus Fukurokuju, right? We're not cutting away to that stuff. Instead, we're cutting away to Dragon doing something, or Sabo doing something, or hell, even Koala or someone doing something. I think that that's generally going to, even if it still feels cluttered in a way, I think it'll feel cluttered in an enjoyable manner, if that makes sense. I think you could make the argument that even Marineford, I think Marineford had a really good flow if you go back and read it start to finish, because you can feel kind of the different waves of momentum that are taking place over the course of the fight. Like, first the Marines are kind of getting the upper hand, then Whitebeard goes on the offensive, then the walls are going up, then they're doing this Oars last-ditch attempt to get over the walls, then they're making their big final push, then things are getting rough, then Luffy's doing his rallying, conquers Haki Cry, etc. Like, you can feel the beats of the war play out very well, but you could still make the argument that Marineford, it's a lot of jumping around and a lot of different characters doing random shit, but I think the difference is that it's just exciting anywhere you turn, right? It's like, oh, Smoker versus Boa Hancock over here, or Doflamingo versus Jozu over here, or something, right? I think that it could be similar in the final war, where, you know, during the Onigashima battle, you guys remember when Roof Piece was going on, and it felt wildly frustrating anytime we cut away from the roof to some random bullshit that's going on downstairs? I don't think that that will be as much of a issue in the final war. Because in the Onigashima battle, it's kind of like, yeah, pretty much everyone we want to see. There's only like 7-ish characters that we really, really are excited for, right? And they're all consolidated in one spot, right? You could say stuff like, well, Sanji, but he's, you know, caught in a spider web and stuff at that point in time. I think Onigashima suffered from basically like, it's a very large scale battle that we didn't have as much investment in across the entire spectrum of players, right? Final War, I think we're going to be fine cutting around quite a bit, I think. So it could be cluttered, but it could be cluttered in an exciting way, if that makes sense. And also, just because Oda did it, I'm not going to fall back on the thing that, well, Oda did it once, so therefore he knows what to do or what to avoid next time, because that's what I thought coming out of Dressrosa. Because Dressrosa also had a similarly very cluttered feel to it, with just a lot of characters. We all remember like Luffy climbing the plateau, a lot of different characters, and we knew even less about the Colosseum fighters. Although I'd argue that the Colosseum fighters were more fun characters in general than a lot of the Wano characters that we had to focus on over the Onigashima battle. But that's neither here nor there. I think with Dressrosa, I was like, okay, this was Oda's attempt at really drawing like a full-scale battle, like full-scale war where we're having to actually like play out full elaborate. It's not like Marineford where it was like skirmishes, right? Here, Oda's doing full elaborate battles with all of these players, right? So that felt very cluttered at first, and it felt very slow, and it felt like it took a lot of time to set things up. But then once Oda had everything set up, he was able to hit a run of, I think, like 20 chapters where every single chapter was one fight after another being resolved. So it was like Bartolomeo versus Cavendish, and then Sai versus Laoji, and then Leo versus whoever. Like, he just knocked out the fights like dominoes. So I figured that because he had that experience in Dressrosa, I was like, okay, that was practice for Wano, so Onigashima is going to be even cleaner. That wasn't right. Onigashima was a lot messier than Dressrosa. Onigashima never hit. If you could reread Dressrosa, you can see the point where Oda's done with the setup and he just hits a nice flow of dominoes of like knocking out fights one after another. In Onigashima, he was never able to really get to that. So Onigashima never had a really sort of consistent rhythm. It was like, okay, we're going to resolve a fight, and then we're going to resolve like one more fight, and then it's like, then a lot of chapters where very little happens, or like we're trying to establish, okay, Luffy got out of the water over there, he's eating some food and stuff like that, and then I think Sanji's carrying around Zoro here, and then Momonosuke's yelling about, like, it was just very choppy in terms of like the flow of what's going on, and like sometimes something cool would happen and then you'd just be like drowning in random cutaways for a while, and then something cool else would happen, and then like even just the Zoro and Sanji fights, I remember when those chapters were coming out, people were like, why is Oda not just having these fights play out consecutively? Why is he having Sanji have his moment, then Zoro have his moment, but then cut back to finish the Sanji fight, and then cut back to finish the Zoro fight? Random bizarre shit, right? So I'm not going to go with that old mentality that, okay, Oda got his practice in Onigashima, therefore he's going to do it better in the final battle, because I think that's what I thought going from Dressrosa to Onigashima, and the opposite happened. So I don't know how the fuck cluttered the final battle will be. It might be just as cluttered as Onigashima. It might be more cluttered than Onigashima. Or maybe he's figured something out and he's going to go back to the Dressrosa situation where there'll be a lot of clutter at first, but then he can hit a smooth sort of runway where he knocks out a bunch of fights. I don't know. But again, the main point is that I think we're just going to be more excited for the shit that's happening. So that's what's going to matter more at the end of the day, in my opinion. My guess. Sorry, let me just double check older supers real quick. Huh. Oh, I'm sorry, Caleb. I missed this. Theory, the Void Century flashback will not... No, we covered this. I didn't miss it. Did not miss it. Take that back. Jay says 200... Thanks for the 5. 280 more chapters with at least 5 of them having Imu thump on the throne seat. Remixing, thanks for the 2. Oda is a chronic liar. Why do people believe him now? I don't think... How do I say this? I know it's not the same at all, but I don't think that Oda is a chronic liar. I know this is not the same as at all, but it's kind of like when I say something like, I think that this video, I estimate it'll be done by this amount of time, or something like that. Like I've done with videos in the past, right? I am not lying, and Oda I don't think is lying when he says certain things, okay? It's genuinely what I believe at that point in time till life and reality gets in the way. That's basically what it is. Because I think, I think that this is not unique to Oda or myself or what. I think a lot of people suffer from this, which is when you are. I think some people are just very ambitious in their predictions of what they can accomplish, because you kind of just assume. At least this is me speaking from my experience and having talked to other people who are somewhat similar in this vein. You oftentimes you kind of just like to imagine, okay, if it was peak productivity, right? So if I did this in my most optimistic window of time, and I finished this other thing in my most optimistic window of time, and then this, and then this, and then this, then it'll all be done in like a month or something like that. Right? Then as you're going through it, you slowly realize, like, okay, this one actually took a little bit longer, but that's fine because that's not going to throw out the schedule too much. As long as I stick to my rhythm for the next thing. But then the next thing, you're like, okay, this is taking a bit longer than I thought. And it's just each step of a given project or whatever, if each one takes a little bit longer than you expect, then eventually you're looking at significantly more time than you previously predicted, especially if there's steps that you didn't think about initially, right? And One Piece is such a vast and complex story that I don't care how good Oda is at planning. We all know he's amazing at planning, right? But it's such a vast and complex story that it is literally going to be impossible for him to accurately plan just a solid window of everything that needs to be done. Because, you know, there's random shit that'll just come up, right? Like, if we go through a chapter, right? If we go through a chapter, like, yeah, Oda probably predicted, like, Oda's probably looking at the Reverie and planning, okay, what are the things that need to happen at the Reverie, right? Well, Cobra needs to talk to Im, right? Cobra needs to talk to Im, and then Cobra needs to die, right? Sabo needs to be present at the scene. These are things that need to happen, which means that I need to write a scene where Sabo's getting there, right? Where Cobra's asking to meet Im. Need to write some scenes where, you know, the other commanders are holding off the admirals and stuff like that. Oda's probably thinking of all this stuff and giving a ballpark, but then there's small things that he's probably having to remember along the way, which is like, oh, and I need to make sure that Sabo talks to Bonnie at some point, right? So then that's a scene that's being written in, and that probably takes up 5, 6, 7 pages, however long. Oda's probably remembering, like, okay, maybe we need to establish something about Shirahoshi or something like that, right? I forgot I need to pick that up. Like, there's no way that he, just with his work schedule and everything like that he has enough time to perfectly plan every single little scene and interaction that needs to happen for the rest of the story. And so, as he's going along, he's naturally going to have to be continuously remembering certain things like, oh yeah, I need to include this little thing here, because that has to be established. I need to include this because that has to be established. And so things just expand and expand. And then that's on top of his own personal tendencies of just wanting to write in little extra funny stuff and shit like that along the way that maybe doesn't need to be there, you know? Felix C, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. Morj, do you think Jimmy will forever be known as a choker if he blows this game tonight? The thing about Jimmy Butler is that I think he's established his reputation well enough before this as kind of being like a really tough, mentally competitive guy that I don't think it will necessarily hurt his reputation that bad, but I have no way to predict the future. Right? I have no way to predict the... I think one thing that's in his favor is a lot of people already like Jimmy Butler a lot, you know? Like, if this was LeBron, and LeBron blew this, people would be, like, salivating at the prospect of being able to label LeBron as, like, the biggest choker in NBA history, you know? I mean, he kind of already did, like, 2011 or whatever, right? But because it's Jimmy Butler, I think a lot of people like him. I think a lot of people look at him as, again, as I said earlier, you can describe him as the scrappy underdog. I don't know how much... The tricky thing with him, though, is that I think people who watched him and already liked him may not hold it against him as much because, again, the Celtics are just the better team. But I think over time, history may not be kind to him because in the future, like, 15 years down the line, a lot of people who never watched Jimmy Butler, that's the problem. Like, people a while down the line might only know him as that guy that blew a 3-0 lead, right? Because you can compare him to someone like Kawhi, where Kawhi blew that 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, which was a historically bad collapse because the Clippers were they were the most stacked team in the league. They were the favorites by pretty much everyone to win the championship that year, right? And then they blew a lead to the Nuggets, like a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, who really weren't yet that good of a team, right? The Nuggets became better later, but that was a bad collapse. But Kawhi's generally not really known for that because Kawhi kind of established himself already with the 2019 run, just the year before. So, you know, like, people can hold it against Kawhi, but at the end of the day, he's also got a really impressive championship run to kind of balance that out and already cement his legacy, you know? Jimmy Butler doesn't really have something like that. He's not an MVP, he's not going to be a champion, you know, an NBA champion or anything like that, most likely at any point in his career. He had some good runs, but those are all, like, details that'll be, like, he doesn't have a solid stamp on his legacy, right? So ultimately, unfortunately, I think the stamp might be the blown 3-0 lead, which I think is really unfortunate. That's talking about the future. As for today, I really don't know how people will react to Jimmy potentially blowing this lead because it's really hard to tell what the public opinion of him is going to be after this because I personally think it shouldn't be held too much against him, but Maybe there's a lot of Jimmy haters that are just going to come out of the woodworks. Haritz and Dika Nugroho, thanks. Egghead probably ends with Luffy holding back Kizaru and Marines while others escape, then Im's face reveal and Dragon's declaration of war like Marineford. I don't know if we have anything to go off of to really give us a concrete idea of how this arc is going to end. Like, I do think Im face reveal, I'm on board with that. I think that should happen by the end of this arc. Hamsterdam, thanks for the 10. I'm a little late, no worries, but I don't think there'll be any clutter in the final saga because he's been able to plan things out for so many years, and he's been perfecting everything about it since the beginning. I mean, you could have said the same for, like, Wano, right? And then Onigashima was really cluttered, in my opinion, at least. He did take the month off to really plan, but at the same time, it's... I mean, as I was explaining, like, at length, and I'm not going to go through the whole explanation again, I don't think it's possible to plan out all the little... Like, the best you can do is plan out all of the major... Like, you can plan out all of the key plot points that need to happen, all of the key scenes that need to happen, etc., but there's no way to plan out all of the little scenes that need to happen in between. You know? You just can't do that. It's not feasible. There's just, like, looking at his work schedule and the amount of characters he has and the plot threads he has, it's just not feasible. So I think he can do a lot to keep the number of characters and storylines and shit down, but he can't perfectly plan every little scene that needs to happen by the end of his story. You know, like, even, like, planning out, like, a 2-hour film, right? That takes a tremendous amount of time to storyboard and plan out, like, every single, like a scriptwriter has to go over and over to tighten down, like, exactly how many scenes are needed. And then even then, in the final product, scenes get added, scenes get cut, things like that get changed. And that's just for a 2-hour movie. So planning out, like, a manga that's, like, thousands of chapters long with, like, this many plot lines and shit like that, it's just not feasible, you know? Bunfagum, thanks. Chopper fighting a plague for 10 chapters incoming. Miami's up 12? Please. All right, let me see. Nobody else look at the game. Only I'm allowed to look. All right, thank God. Miami's up 12. All right, good shit. Caleb Martin's carrying. All right, Jason Tatum's only got 1 point. All right. Dripty Sauce says, "Amen, Oda ain't human." I mean, the fact that he's done this so effectively for so long is a feat unto itself. I'm just saying that, like, let's keep our expectations a little grounded for what the final saga could play out. I'm gonna give my guesses at this point. I think Egghead will take... I'm gonna give a range for each one. All right, I think it could wrap in 15 to 25 chapters. I'm gonna say, yeah, 15 to 25. I think it could wrap in 15 to 25. I don't think it can wrap in under 15. I don't think I can wrap in under 15, but I could see it wrapping in under 15. Elbaf, I think, will be... Because I think Elbaf will have combat, so I think it has to pretty much be longer than Zoe. So I feel like anywhere between 25 to 40 seems right for Elbaf. You know, like, Elbaf being longer than... Because 25 is very little, honestly. Like, remember, Egghead has only been 25. Egghead has already been 25 and not that much has happened. So for Elbaf to be 25, I think would be kind of crazy. But let's say that's the lower end. So I think Elbaf could be 25 to 40 chapters. Laughtail. Here's the thing. A lot of things that... I'm going off of the assumption of certain things. Alright? So I'm going off of the assumption that this will involve fighting Marines plus more scenes at Reverie and outside. Right? So I'm going off of this assumption. Alright? I'm assuming that this involves a conflict with the red hair pirates in some way, plus more cutting away to outside scenes. So that's why I'm kind of giving, like, 40 might seem a lot to you guys, but I'm also assuming that outside stuff is going to be happening simultaneously, right? And we're only trying to figure out the total length, right? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just stay in Elbaf for 25 straight or like 30 straight chapters and no outside cutaways. But then in that case, the outside cutaways, they'll probably just happen in the next arc or something like that, right? So just because I might be completely off for a given arc's estimate, the stuff that needs to happen, it's going to happen in some arc or another. You get what I'm saying? So, like, this involves, in my opinion, navigating to Laugh-Tale, reading Poneglyph, and getting Void Century, lengthy exposition / flashback. Let's just say Void Century flashback. Fighting Blackbeard pirates. Okay? Again, if you think that fighting Blackbeard pirates won't happen in Laugh-Tale, that's not the point here. The point is, like, these are things that have to happen, right? So if you think it happens in Elbaf, okay, then just add another 20 chapters to Elbaf or something like that. So I think, because I think that the Blackbeard pirates have to be fought, I think the overall battle has to be at least 20 chapters against them, plus all this other exposition. I'm going to say I think Laugh-Tale is anywhere between 35 to... I'll give this one a long-ass window, just because we don't know how much Oda might have set up before or after. So I'm going to say 30 to 50 chapters for Elbaf, for Laugh-Tale, right? Then, Final War, I'm going to say 80 to 100, and this includes everyone convening for Final War, everyone getting... convening and getting on same side, and motivations being established and assembling, etc. Defeating Marines, defeating Celestial, defeating Im / God's Knights / Seraphim / whoever the fuck needs to be defeated, and all epilogue scenes, which should be 10 plus chapters on their own. Yeah, so I think Final War is like somewhere between 80 to 100. Yeah. So this is my estimate. So I'm basically saying somewhere between, if we go on the lower bound, right, 15, 25, so that's looking at 70-ish, right? 70 to 80. So I think lower bound I've got 150 as well. But my lower bound's not really accurate, because my lower bound is kind of like, if I'm saying Laugh-Tale's 30 chapters, then that means I'm assuming that the Blackbeard Pirates fight gets moved to somewhere else. So I don't think that there's anywhere that... You guys get what I'm saying? Like, the lower bound estimate is basically just saying that, like, okay, maybe something that's not happening this arc happens in the next arc, but then that would mean that the next arc is just longer than I expected, right? So if I'm like, if Laugh-Tale's 30 chapters instead of 50, well, that means that the Final War is probably going to be 100 rather than 80, because stuff that is happening in, I assumed, Laugh-Tale, like maybe a Void Century flashback, maybe that we're getting that in the Final War, but in that case, like, the Final War is going to be longer than expected. So my lower bound is probably higher. It's probably somewhere like, let's say 170. I think even that's kind of low, but my higher bound, my upper bound is kind of like, what's the 65, 115. I'm going to say my upper bound's 200. I'm going to say somewhere between 170 to 200. That's my guess. 170 to 200, so that's close to basically, that's basically between 4, yeah, it's just like 4 to 5 years is basically my estimate. Little more than that. I guess 4.5 to 5 years. Roughly. That's about it. Mason Rasat's Final War is no more than 50. I just don't get how people can say that. Because, like, the example I keep going back to is just Onigashima without any of the setup. Like, so not even including anybody arriving there, the people having to sail over, people like the alliances like making their plans or any of that. If you cut out everything, all of the travel time, even cutting out the time that they like get to Onigashima, like disembark and start like setting up and getting organized and stuff like that and traveling around the island, if you cut out all of that, just from the moment the fight starts to the moment the fight finishes, that alone is 65 chapters. 65 chapters. That's fucking crazy. I can't imagine, like, even if the final war is exactly that long, 65 chapters, well, then you have to tack on everyone assembling, right? So the story, like, the characters, motivations, everyone assembling, everyone gathering there, everyone getting organized, and then the epilogue, which is going to be definitely longer than the Wano epilogue because it's so much more significant and there's so many more characters and storylines and the entire world is involved, etc. So, in my opinion, I can't see the final war being less than 80. But I could see, like, if Oda really wants to scrunch, maybe you could get it to 80 or something like that, but I can't imagine it being less than 80. Bunfagum, thanks for the 3. Oda needs editors who can stand up to him. I'm not going to speculate as to what the internal shit is going on there. You know, like, maybe, like, I don't know what it was. Masan Rasat says Marineford was 30. Yeah, but we had, like, Marineford was all skirmishes. There was no actual fights happening in Marineford, you know. Wano and Dressrosa, those are things where, like, the Straw Hats will get a full-on fight, you know. Characters will get full-on battles. Marineford was also much smaller scale. It was just the Whitebeard pirates and the Marine. Like, the number of characters is way lower. The, the plot setup, by the way, for Marineford, even though the fight was only 30 chapters, the plot setup for it, like, leading the build-up to Marineford was many chapters before that. So it's like, if you don't want to include that in the final war, well, then you got to tack those chapters on to Laugh Tale or something like that. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of chapters building up to the war. Yeah, Marineford it's just not a real comparison because the only full fight that really played out was Whitebeard versus Akainu, you know. Sleeping Danger says Wano will stay the longest arc in One Piece. That is not changing. Yeah, I agree. I don't think there'll be an arc longer than Wano. But the fight, like the final war, could be longer than the fight of Wano. You know, because again, like, there's no way to spin it. Like, the fight of Wano, it's relatively small scale. It's just the Straw Hats plus Samurai versus one Yonko crew. That's nothing compared to, like, the Straw Hats plus all their allies plus the revolutionaries plus, like, various nations of the world, likely, versus the Marines, so Akainu, admirals, vice admirals, all that stuff, and Im and his God's Knights and CP0 and potentially Seraphim, potentially Gorosei. Like, the number of things that have to happen. And then the post-war of that, right? Like, keep in mind, post-Marineford was 20 chapters, right? You want to cut out the flashback? Okay, then it's like 10 chapters, right? Post-Marineford's like 10 chapters. Post-Enies Lobby's like 10 chapters. Post-Final War's got to be like at least 10 chapters. Maybe like 15. Will of Davy Jones? Thanks for the 10. Unrelated to the topic at hand, but I'm curious, how do you feel about Shiki possibly being the one Carabao is passing information to and potentially the person that stopped Capone Beige, levitation fruit? That's an interesting question. I feel like Shiki comes up very often in, like, fan discussions of could he be the answer to this or that theory. Even to this day, the guy that Crocus was drinking with, I've seen theories from people that that guy was Shiki. I don't believe that that guy was Shiki, and I don't believe that Shiki is coming back into the story at this point. I think that when a character is used like that in such a prominent fashion for a movie, that ultimately that's where he's supposed to stay, and he's not supposed to come back into the story, I think. I Can Drive! Thanks for the 2. What's the most interesting faction at the moment? Cross Guild, and I put out a whole video talking about that. The genius of Cross Guild. Uh, I think that Cross Guild's by far the most interesting right now, just because we've never had a group like that. We've never had a group where that's that prominent, where the sense of hierarchy is so messy, and you've got three contrasting personalities who are really not friends that are each butting heads like that in that way, and they all have a different level of pull in that organization. Where Mihawk's the strongest, but Crocodile's the brains, and then Buggy's the face that everybody listens to. So it's tricky. Hold on, I might be ordering some food real quick. It's Memorial Day, so I feel like I get to, like, it's a holiday. I should be allowed to at least treat myself a little bit, you know. The genius gesture, yeah. Plus, I walked to the gym today. I think I got a lot going for me. I think I got a good set of excuses. Probably just get Chipotle. Scopper is more likely to appear than Shiki. Yeah, I just don't think that Shiki is likely at this point. I really don't. Wait a second. I could get tacos. I'll get some quesadillas. Are quesadillas healthy? Does anyone know? I'm trying to get, like, something slightly healthy. Are quesadillas healthy? They're probably not as healthy as Chipotle, right? Someone tell me, are quesadillas healthy? I'm not trying to get, like, healthy, but just, you know, like, not garbage. They're gonna be chicken quesadillas. Monkey D. Luffy says, what's the Chipotle order? If I'm ordering today, like, I try to eat healthy on the weekdays, so I would probably cut certain things, like, I wouldn't get guacamole or something like that. I'd probably get a very basic Chipotle, like, chicken, you know, chicken, rice, lettuce, like the lettuce, tomatoes, the what's the other thing? Cheese, stuff like that. No, Chipotle isn't necessarily healthy either. Yeah, but it's got to be healthier than quesadillas, right? Quesadillas I'm getting from a different place. Chipotle I'm not getting quesadillas. Chipotle I would get a burrito bowl. Okay. What's healthier? Chipotle bowl, which is chicken, rice, black bean. No, I can't spell out the whole thing. Okay, Chipotle bowl, quesadillas from another place. The Chipotle order would be chicken, rice, black beans, lettuce, tomato, cheese. Quesadilla order would be just chicken quesadillas. You guys say Chipotle bowl is healthier? Fuck, I kind of wanted the quesadillas. You guys sure about that? Caleb, cool guy, says quesadillas are like tacos. It depends what you put in them. I was just gonna get, like, straightforward, like, chicken cheese quesadillas. It says they've got grilled onions in there. You know what? I can get what I want. DM Fuerte says quesadillas is just cheesy flatbread. Yeah. Damn it. Dead Soon says for cheat day it's okay, but it's not generally healthy food. The thing is that Saturday and Sunday are kind of cheat days for me. That's right, I have 2 cheat days, which is, you know, why not have 2 cheat days? If you're gonna have 1 cheat day, you can have 2 cheat days, right? So this would be like a 3rd cheat day in a row. I like doing Saturday and Sunday as cheat days because it feels very good. Like, on Monday, when I start the week Monday eating healthy, I actually feel good doing it. You know? Lars Mango, thanks, because I'm sick of junk food by that point. Or not junk food, you know what I mean? Like, unhealthy foods at that point. Lars Mango, thanks for the 3. Loj, why is Zoro your favorite Straw Hat? I'm not answering that question. We don't need to get into arguments about certain things. Tekking, what's going on? One Piece will end on October 12th, 2026. Tekking, do you mind expanding on why you feel that way? Guys, everyone say hi to Tekking. Make him feel welcome so that he wants to come back. October 12th, 2026. So 3 years and some change from now. BeatGamer99 says, why have a cheat day when you can have a whole cheat week? You guys don't understand. For those of you who don't try eating like healthy, and this is not to shame anybody, okay? But I'm just saying, how do I say this? It's not trying to shame anybody, okay? I'm putting you into my mindset, which is like on certain days when I'm like really hungry, but I'm I'm committed to eating something healthy that day, right? Because it's not a weekend, right? When I'm really hungry and I'm eating, right? I literally sit there while I'm eating and I like fantasize. I'm like, man, oh my God, the best thing ever would be like if I just took a whole week and I like traveled to some beach location and then I just ate like garbage every single day. Oh, that would be so good. I don't know why I need to transport myself to some other location in this fantasy. Like I need to be on the beach or something like that. But in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, it would be, there's nothing I want more right now than just a full week where I just eat garbage the entire week through. That would be so good. I don't know. Like, it's just sad. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, my fantasy is basically what a lot of people just do normally. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people just, it must be nice. You just eat whatever you want. Let's see. Did Tekken expand on his thoughts? No. Time machine. Okay, thanks, Tekking. Sean Easton says, as someone who used to work at Qdoba, quesadillas are much unhealthier. Fuck. Alright, fine. Fine then, fine. Mason Rasat says, Morj, if it's not America, you probably won't eat garbage. Yeah, but I'm in America. I mean, I guess you're saying if I took a vacation somewhere else. Taking a vacation all the way somewhere else just to eat food that I like? That seems like a lot. Okay, you know what? I'll get Chipotle. But I did walk today. I feel like because I walked, I've earned myself quesadillas. Just, I mean, I walk most days, but today I had to walk like a lot because I had to walk again, as I said, like all the way to the gym, all the way back. So it was a long ass walk. Heinstein69, thanks for the 5. Tank, who does best at Marine Ford against the Marines? Tank? I'm not giving you props for that because that's not even close to Morj. If you're doing a spin on the name, it's got to be somewhat close. Who does best at Marine Ford against the Marines? Current Straw Hats, Beast Pirates, Big Mom Pirates, BC Pirates, Blackbeard Pirates, I'm just assuming Blackbeard Pirates, Red-Haired Pirates, Prime Whitebeard Pirates. Are they allowed to bring their friends? If they're allowed to bring their friends, then the Straw Hats, because the Straw Hats have a lot of friends. If they're not allowed to bring their friends, then probably the Red-Haired Pirates. No, not the Red-Haired Pirates. Roger Pirates. Why is that not an option? I was looking for Roger Pirates that said red-haired. If they're not allowed to bring their friends, we ranked this recently, right? I think it's Prime Whitebeard Pirates take it then, because they have Odin. How's the game going now? Oh, it's halftime. All right, the Celtics, as long as they don't fuck this shit up, we're good to go. Tyonte Blacks is as long... Okay, Tyonte Blacks is as long as you eat right and not eating a lot of fried food or sweets. Okay, so let me explain something to you guys. What you guys don't understand is that I'm generally a very all-or-nothing person in terms of a lot of things, okay? So I'm very all-or-nothing. So for me, I could follow a more balanced diet where, you know, in the week I eat, you know, somewhat healthy, but then also a mix of like some good food, some sweets, like some fried food, some sweets, but like I do it all under, like I could just live a lifestyle where I do everything in moderation. So, you know, mostly healthy food or like 50% healthy, 50% unhealthy or something like that. But I'm not like that. If I'm eating like, if I'm going to eat like a burger and fries or something like that, then I want to follow that up with like a pastry or a cake or something like that. and then like some cookies later in the day, and then like a pizza for dinner. So I basically need to be like either it's like a switch, either turned on or off. Okay, so like either either on healthy mode or unhealthy mode. All right, so I need to keep the switch to healthy mode for like most of the week. Then once the weekend comes, I switch it to unhealthy mode, and I just eat like absolute trash for the entire weekend. And I just prefer it that way. It's easier for me to be all or nothing, because then it just means that there's no wiggle room, or no, like, you don't have to overthink it as much. It's just like, it's a weekday, am I allowed to eat this? No. It's a weekend, am I allowed to eat this? Of course. Matt, thanks for the 5. I'm a mailman. I walk 7 miles per day. Eat what you want. Wait, Matt, I need to know this. Are you the question I want to ask is a rude question. Can't ask it. Ramen Stains, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Hey Millhouse, only popping in for a moment as spoilers are apparently nutty this week and I don't want to risk it. Did you like the raid in Pokemon Adventures? Of course, because it ended in failure. I loved it. Dead Soon says, damn, I'm the same way. I either eat like crap or eat incredibly healthy. The concept of balance is foreign to me. I feel like balance is just a pain. Like, you have to overthink it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to ever get into a point where I'm, like, trying to count calories or something like that. It's just easier to me to be like, okay, I've eaten healthy for X number of days. Now I can eat unhealthy for X number of days, and then I go back. All right, I'm going to do Chipotle. God damn it. All right. Still going to do white rice, because we're not going... Wait, brown rice and white rice? Looks like it's... Never mind. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The hell? Why can't I add some... Why can't I add these veggies? Ah, okay, there we go. There we go. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add a little bit of this. Let me add some of that. Okay. What the fuck? This DoorDash is broken. I'm actually very annoyed by this. What's going on? Oh, no, never mind. I'm just doing it wrong. All right. We got this. We got this thing. We got this thing. All right. And I think I'm good to go. Yeah. Okay. Lars Mango, thanks for the 3. Sir Morj, what's your biggest regret as a creator? My biggest regret as a creator... Biggest regret as a creator is... Okay, it's tricky because, I wouldn't go back to change it. How do I say this? It's tricky because the way it played out was just the way it needed to play out for the time. So, right now my channel is split up into certain different types of videos. So I do good number of, I do theories, I do discussion videos, and I do some analysis videos, right? What I would prefer is just doing analysis type videos. And then that way I could work on bigger videos and a little less frequently. However, the way I was growing my channel initially was by doing all 3 types of, and chapter reviews. I also do chapter reviews. So the way I was growing my channel initially, sorry. The channel began with just analysis videos and occasional theories, and that's kind of how I got well known, if that makes sense. Like, I got my first 10K subscribers mainly off of just analysis and then some theories. However, and I was known mainly for analysis in my early stages of my creator career, but then there came COVID, and in COVID, like, everything went kind of rough. Not YouTube-wise, I'm saying outside-wise. So the digital marketing business that we had no clients or anything like that during that whole period of time. So during that time, I had to work harder on the YouTube channel to get the YouTube channel rolling, which meant that at that point in time, I kind of had to If you guys don't remember this, I used to not upload to YouTube that frequently. I would go several months before uploading another video. Like, there were large gaps in my YouTube upload career, like sometimes like 6 months. So I would only upload videos that I thought were good when I felt like it was worth it to upload, right? Generally more so analysis type videos. When COVID hit, I was like, okay, I need to do this more consistently. So that's when I started doing everything. I was doing a theory a week or a discussion video a week, analysis videos when I could, chapter reviews, everything, right? So I started doing everything, which grew the channel quickly, but it didn't grow the channel in the way that I would have preferred it if I was doing it the other way. The other way I would have liked to have just done, I would like to have just been in a channel that does analysis videos once every few weeks, something like that, and grown the channel like that. And I could have, if I had just, like, if I'd been like, okay, I'm going to focus on YouTube and I'm just going to do this, but the times necessitated that I put out videos more frequently to grow it faster, just get through the COVID period, basically. And so now that's what the channel is, which I don't dislike now, because now I'm in a good rhythm of doing it like that. But if I could reshape the channel to what the original concept was, it would have just been analysis videos, if that makes sense. Caleb Brown says Morj's biggest regret is giving us too much content. It's not giving too much content, it's just like, the type of content, like, the type of content is a bit more diverse than I think it needs to be. And if I were to do it my way, then it wouldn't be on a strict schedule. It would be on my own basis of like, okay, I'm done with this video. It's a good video, analysis video. It'll come out once a month or once every few weeks or something like that. It's a little too late to change that now. And when I say it's not a regret, it's because I did, like, you say it's a regret when you made a mistake, but I knew what I was doing when I was doing it. It's just that it's what I had to do. So I kind of had to bite the bullet and be like, okay, I'm going to do this, basically. You get what I'm saying? Red Agrid says your Whole Cake Island video got me introduced to your channel. Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people. That or like the Shanks' Elbaf's arc video, you know? Uwu says, what's your attachment style, Morj? What are attachment styles? I know what they are. Like, I know that there's a few different attachment styles, but like, I don't know if that's like, you know, I don't know what the actual styles are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the details. I know that there's just different attachment styles. And I think I skimmed them at one point and I was like, okay, I think I'm this one or something. But then I read that a lot of it has to do with your childhood. And I was browsing stuff. I didn't go into the details. So I don't think I really processed the total. Like, what each one is. Or even how clearly, like, how important those sort of things are, you know? Like, by important, I mean, like, how valid that stuff is, you know? Like, does everyone really have different attachment styles? Or is everyone, like, a mix or match or something like that, you know? Like MBTI, that sort of thing is always fun to look into, and a lot of stuff seems to hold some degree of truth for sure when you get to know people, talk to people, understand what different type of person different people are. But at the same time, I'm like, I know there's various branches of like different typing things in psychology, like MBTI, attachment styles, you know, different things like that, and I don't know the validity to each one of them across the board. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap stream shortly because I'll be honest, I want to watch the second half of this basketball game. I really do. Let me browse a little bit. Let me see if there's any other questions that seem like good to answer. And beyond that, I'm just going to wrap stream. Riss OIS says, still my favorite Morj video is how Oda writes One Piece. Yeah, the problem with that is I never thought of a good title for that one, because there's definitely a better way to pitch that one. Probably something like The Genius of Oda's side characters or something like that, or One Piece has the smartest the best side characters or something. I think that's my best video. Like, my most interesting video, I think, if you're a deep One Piece fan. Rainey says, every time I hear COVID said online now, it's how someone made the most of it. I like it, lol. I know a lot of people got screwed over by COVID, so I try not to bring that up. Like, COVID was genuinely a really good time for me personally. Like, it depends on the space you're in, because for me, I was in a like, I had a part-time job, but I only did it like once a week, because at that point in time, I was, if you guys remember, if you haven't seen, go check out the homeless story on Morj Unleashed. I wasn't actually homeless, but I was living I was living in an office space that I had I was living, like, my business partner had rented out a floor, blah, 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 right? Like, he rented out different rooms to different people. One was the office space that was just supposed to be for the trio of me, him, and our other business partner. He let me just live there for free. So it was an office space by day, and then at night when they both left, I converted it to my room, right? So I was living basically illegally, not illegal, like, nobody else in the building was allowed to know that I lived there, right? And I didn't pay rent or anything like that. So for me, I was like in a space where I was living in the city, but it was hard to really focus a lot, just because my lifestyle was like weird, and I was also trying to avoid being caught, I suppose, by other people that lived in the building. And like on top of that, like, there's other people that are trying to get a piece of your time, so there's social obligations and things like that. My family didn't live too far away, so I had to go visit them. So it was just a lot of stuff that got in the way. But when COVID hit, it was, for me, a blessing, because suddenly, like, everything is just dead. Everything is just quiet. There's nothing to do except be productive. So I think if you were a person that was already trying to work on either entrepreneurial stuff or content creation or something like that, then for you, COVID was probably a blessing, because it cut off any other things that could be distracting or taking away your time. You couldn't do anything else except work on the projects that you're supposed to be working on. So I understand that COVID screwed over a lot of people. It came at a good time for me personally. If COVID came this year, I would be really, really, really fucking sad. I'd feel like I'm losing a year of my life. But at that time, it felt like I was gaining extra time, if that makes sense. I was gaining a hyperbolic time chamber, period, that I couldn't have asked for at a better point. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap stream there. Yeah, I'm going to wrap stream there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Just in time for the third quarter to start. I'm very happy that the Heat are pulling away, but let's not speak too soon. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.